Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris Neto. I am the Market Development Manager at Starin, and I am here proud to be hosting this month's Town Hall. This month's Town Hall is featured guest PTZ Optics HuddleCam, Mr. William Gold, the Director of Channel Management at Haverford Systems. He will be coming on the show and giving us all the latest and greatest on the products that we carry from both PTZ Optics and HuddleCam, but specifically, one of the things that of interest to you, to me, and to a lot of the video world is all the hype around NDI, because NDI has made some recent announcements that have really created a buzz and really created a stir. So we have one of our top vendors that's knee-deep involved in the whole NDI process. I'd like to introduce and welcome William Gold. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, man. How is the coming out of the quarantine treating you?
Great, actually, to be honest. I was lucky. I had a pretty seamless transition in quarantine from my old position to my new position, and I actually had my first child in the process. So quarantine actually treated me kind of well.
Congratulations. You are a brave man to be going through that kind of thing in the middle of the world kind of having all its weirdness and stuff like that. But anyway, thank you so much for coming by. Thank you so much for bringing some goodies for our folks that are watching. And for those that are in attendance, you will be pleasantly surprised when we get to the end of this webinar. Let's kick it off with a little bit of intro from you and the companies.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is William Goldie. I'm the Director of Channel Sales and Channel Development for all of Haverford Systems, which is our parent company. Specifically with the brands PTZ Optics and HuddleCam are our hero product, branded product that we lead with, and we work with you guys at Starin on the most. A good way to kind of think about our companies, because we do have multiple camera brands, PTZ Optics HuddleCam was built and dedicated for the live streaming and broadcast marketplaces, and HuddleCam was developed originally for video conferencing, huddle rooms, smaller spaces, or UC, unified communications. So we have a large line of cameras that range everywhere from SDI, NDI, and USB connectivities. And we're breaking into the world of control systems in a much greater sense, which we'll be talking about here in a little bit. And yeah, we're now moving into trying to get basically all things NDI, which is IP-based video. As you mentioned, that's going to be a big portion of the talk today. And we'll break into that a little bit later as well. So that's kind of a rough overview. If you haven't heard of the brands, if you are familiar with the brands, this is going to just be a middle of the year catch up on all things PTZ Optics and HuddleCam HD, letting you know what's new so far and what's coming up for the rest of the year.
You know what's great is that it is, we're in week 3 of June. So at this point, say in 2019 or 2018, we would have been coming out of Infocom. You guys would have had a whole bunch of products, stuff like that. We would have had a good up-to-date refresher on what you guys did. So regardless if the show has moved to October, and we will see you there, correct?
Correct. Yep. We will be at NAB and Infocom.
NAB and Infocom. And so let's fill in the gap where Infocom kind of left us here in June. You have some products that are coming out, and specifically, you guys seem to be really touching upon the whole NDI thing right now. Why use, and this is a question that I have, and by the way, for the folks that are in attendance, please use the Q&A section down at the bottom if you guys want to drop any questions for William. That's the whole purpose of a town hall. It doesn't want to be just a talking head between me and William. I'm looking for you. You guys have questions, and he is the expert, so he's the person to ask. So please fire away the questions. All questions are accepted. Well, almost all questions are accepted. Please, he's in Philly. I'm in New Jersey. Please, no Philly sports questions because it may get ugly. Outside of that, give us your take on NDI. Why is NDI in the Pro AV? Why is it buzzing? I mean, it was developed for broadcasting and for live streaming, but why now? I mean, you guys came off a hot year with USB. The buzzword, and NDI has been creeping up, building that, kind of momentum, along with, obviously, with USB being accepted amongst the professional AV folks. So give us a little rundown.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit it on the head there. NDI specifically, for those who aren't familiar, NDI stands for Network Device Interface. It was developed by Newtek. Um, since then, Newtek and NDI have actually not split up, but they basically function. Newtek operates for hardware, NDI operates for software. So NDI, Network Device Interface, was originally developed with broadcast video in mind as a workflow for live streaming, as a workflow for broadcast. That was I wasn't in the room when they developed it, but understanding that was the impetus of where they were trying to take it. Since then, because we've been able to work with both NDI and Newtek in the development of our products, we've expanded into marketplaces we didn't even know were even a potential when we started the PTZ Optics brand. We started PTZ Optics as a result of YouTube and Facebook Live coming online. That was a space in which people needed hardware for those communication platforms. Since then, we've broken into spaces like AI manufacturing, broken into spaces for corporate communications. We've broken into spaces for unified communications on campuses, schools, things of the like. And I think what happened, why NDI is becoming that buzzword, Pro AV, is because of the infrastructure ability. All you really need, this guy right here, just a Cat5 connection, and you can get video, power, and control all over that single cable. And that's a Cat5 cable. So if you think about it, if you have a building that has Ethernet in it, you're 90% of the way there. So for Pro AV, it's kind of just this natural progression based on infrastructure and the ability for NDI to work seamlessly within Zoom and other communications platforms. So it's almost kind of this natural progression that's just happened over time. We saw that progression happening. We heard more and more clients from different verticals that were outside of live streaming asking about it. So we went ahead, we targeted them, and that's where we're at. We're pushing NDI everywhere and anywhere that we'll have it.
Yeah, it's interesting because you brought up that it's being used obviously in the UC space, and we are a big UC distributor of a lot of UC products, as with your products being part of it. You're seeing NDI being used in the conference rooms, not just in the broadcast space. Is it a quality thing, or is it a infrastructure ease of use, or is it just, the way currently, the systems are being built, they're just streamlining the numbers of cables that are being run or the infrastructure being run? I remember being a tech manager and glass walls became a thing, and I was running out of places to run cables. I also had floating floors, that kind of, conference rooms that were built over open spaces with an opening below. I had very little conduit to run wires through. So NDI seems very interesting and seems to be a problem solved, but how does it work for the UC space? What are you guys seeing?
Yeah, so I think one of the largest changes that we were seeing is the use of NDI for platforms like Zoom, Skype, GoToMeeting, BlueJeans, things like. You mentioned it before. USB is just kind of that UC space go-to in terms of an infrastructure because it's plug and everyone's used USB.
Mm-hmm.
Plugging in a USB webcam is universally understood. It's now universally understood, by the way, across the world because every single student, teacher, corporate boardroom, every single sales manager, every single executive, all of a sudden had to do all of their own AV in their own house, and they went and bought a USB model webcam. However, now that we're starting to get back into the office, and hey, we might even have a little bit of a hybrid model, just because of the ease of infrastructure. We have NDI on models like HuddleCam webcams. This thing just has an Ethernet port in the back and a USB port. That's all it is. So you can set this up. This is audio and video all in a small package, all the way up to our bigger cameras and then our larger and more complex control units. So again, I think just kind of that natural progression. Once start to adapt that NDI world, video over IP just kind of was a natural progression. So again, kind of the back of that guy, pretty easy to set up. Just go ahead and toss a Ethernet cable into that LAN port. Good to go.
Sounds great. Well, we already got one question, and before I move on to more conversation with you, we do have a question came in from Tim Duncan. Tim asks, will PTZ Optics be expanding their product offerings to include NDI converters, i.e. HDMI to NDI or NDI to HDMI? Is that part of the plan, part of the roadmap? Are you going to reveal any secrets that we haven't heard anywhere else? Please do tell.
Well, if I walk down this trail any further, my product manager may just have me disappear. No, in all honesty, that's a space that we haven't really entered as of yet. Um, it's kind of always omnipresent on the outskirts of our product conversations. But as of right now, we're going to stick to camera systems and control systems. If there's a world in which we see an opportunity and it makes sense to add that to our product line, we'll obviously make that augmentation. It's a good question because it allows me to say this. We're a small company. We're a family-run business. Haverford Systems is 35 years old. So we can actually pivot and move pretty quickly, which is PTZ Optics as a result of that. We just needed a camera and we made it. So if we ever run into that situation where we, see the need for a converter and we can get that developed quickly enough, we'll go ahead and do that. But as of right now, not yet.
You want to bang out some questions right now, or do you want to just jump right into my own question that I have here queued up that I've been waiting to ask?
I'm happy to take user questions, or we.
All right, let's go. Let's keep it rolling. It is a town hall, so this is the idea. I told you when we met about this that this is going to go off the rails, and there is no format to the way this goes, and that's what keeps it fresh, and that's what keeps it exciting. So we're going to go to the next question that came in from John. John asks, I'm hearing about Dante Video. Will NDI be another camera in that GUI, or does it have its own routing / GUI? Might the question, maybe the question should be, what is the relation between NDI and Dante?
I'm going to be perfectly honest. I just work here. No, I'm not very familiar with the Dante system. Admittedly, that's my own ignorance in sales and not. But what we can do, John, by all means, I will definitely be able to follow up with these guys. We can get that question answered for you. I just don't have any insight into that world, and I apologize.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Next question came in from Joe. Joe asks, how does NDI get recognized on UC platforms? Will it work on all soft codec solutions? Please explain.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, this is going to be my limited technical knowledge. So this is going to be the 10,000-foot view. I really can't dive into how the inner workings of NDI and Zoom are recognizable. Basically, at the end of the day, what you could do with NDI and Zoom is effectively have a virtual webcam where you can select your NDI devices. So NDI, network device interface, your cameras, even some media that you may have can live on your network using a static IP address. So when you're in Zoom and you select your video capture device, if you have the NDI toolkit loaded and NDI and Zoom are talking to each other, you simply just select your NDI source the way you would select your USB webcam. And that's in the actual software of NDI talking to Zoom.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So I want to put out the question with NDI 5, because I have to get to it because I saw it. It was published. It was big hoopla all over the internet. The NDI 5 was just announced. What is your focus on NDI? Is it full NDI right now? Is this not the new version? What tell me about NDI 5 and what PTZ Optics has planned.
Absolutely. Yeah, so NDI 5 was announced. They, again, being in software, that's going to happen pretty rapidly. There's going to be updates to it, same way that your cell phone gets a new software update about every 2 months. The hardware is going to be a little bit slower behind that. With that said, we currently operate on the NDI HX4 platform for all of our NDI native cameras. The reason that we went the route of NDI HX versus quote unquote full NDI has to do with processing ability. Now, this centering our conversation around UC communications, full NDI has some great applications when you're talking about broadcast, depth of color. You need, as much information as your camera is able to capture. You want that in those live streaming, those production environments. When you're on a Zoom call, maybe not so much. To make it a little bit nicer on your network in terms of how it handles that information, we went the route of NDI HX because we see the benefits of NDI HX being used throughout multiple different verticals and multiple different environments without having to have a massive and robust network was much greater than having the advantages of using quote full NDI. So we will be moving to the NDI 5 platform with our stuff towards the end of the year. That's just going to come in the form of a firmware update for anybody that currently has NDI HX cameras. And then there will be an announcement when we start to move to production on that. So we love NDI. We love all their updates. Every time they come out with a new update, it's great for us. And in fact, we do have a product video that kind of explains the NDI HX4 that we're currently using on PTZ Optics webcams.
All right.
NDI version 4 is now available, and it comes with massive improvements to video quality, security, and NDI-HX compatibility. PTZ Optics NDI cameras and our new SuperJoy controller now have firmware available to support NDI version 4. This update includes massive improvements to NDI-HX, which include lower latency, full support for GPU decoding acceleration, and support for the most advanced compression formats available today. On top of great video improvements, PTZ Optics NDI camera users will gain access to NDI groups to increase security, custom naming to increase usability, and new multicast features that are easier to use and more flexible than ever before. Simply put, NDI version 4 sets up PTZ Optics camera users for the future by opening integrations that were once only available to certain NDI developers. PTZ Optics NDI cameras now speak NDI fluently, in the sense that NDI version 4 will only get better as the core NDI technology evolves. The first thing you will notice once you upgrade an NDI camera with the latest firmware is a new Ndi Config tab. This tab allows you to set up your local device name and channel. This is where the device name will show up in any NDI compatible hardware or software, like OBS, Wirecast, or vMix. The channel name is particularly important for cameras that support multiple NDI channels, like the HuddleCam HD Pro IP, which supports 2 channels of NDI output. For this camera, you can see that 2 channels are available, one for the wide-angle reference view and one for the electronic pan-tilt zoom view. You will also notice an NDI receive group, which is used for security and organizational purposes. Once you start using a lot of NDI sources on your network, you may want to consider who has access to those sources, especially if those sources include pan-tilt zoom camera controls. Using NDI Access Manager, you can set up custom receive groups so that only specific computers on your network can actually discover the NDI video sources on your network. In this way, you can set up your PTZ cameras on a secure receive group name. Enter the receive group into NDI Access Manager on the computer you would like to receive the sources, and you are done. No other computers on your network will be able to see the NDI sources on your network unless you set up Access Manager with the custom receive group the cameras are set to. This is a great way to protect your NDI sources from unwanted viewers or operators on your network to increase security on larger networks. NDI version 4 also supports the freely available NDI Discovery Server, which increases what you can do with NDI on complex networks. It's also ideal for mini networks that do not have a router. The Discovery Server allows you to point each camera to a Discovery server on your network, which can make NDI source discovery work smoother in some networking environments. NDI version 4 also has a new auto-generation tool for multicast IP addresses. Multicast is, of course, the technology that allows networks to send and receive multiple video feeds at the same time without congesting a network with on-demand video traffic. But note, you must have a properly configured multicast-enabled network in order to use the new NDI multicast features. NDI version 4 will open up hundreds of new integration possibilities, including NDI control for the SuperJoy and NDI tally lights as just 2 examples. PTZ Optics NDI cameras should now work with almost any NDI integrations available today. Finally, the latest PTZ Optics camera firmware hosts an array of other great feature updates, including support for SRT, motion sync camera presets, NTP IP synchronization, and live video preview in most web browsers. For a complete list of firmware updates, you can check out ptzoptics.com /firmware-changelog. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on PTZ optics cameras. Take care.
It's like the voice from Beyond when Paul does the does the voiceover. But for folks that are wondering, Paul Richards is typically the person who has been on these videos and has been doing the town halls along with me. William has now taken on a new role and is doing his best Paul, but we still get a Paul tribute somewhere in there. It's great to hear from him.
Yeah.
He's on vacation. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's on vacation, but
how was that?
As he's the face of the company, we can't get away.
Yeah, no, obviously you can't get away from him, but I thought the vacations were all and out banned at this point. I got to look into that and see where vacations are at.
He should have a couple of cameras wherever he's at.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. So while we were away and that video was running, we got a bevy of questions. If you're ready to go. All right. So we got a question in from Daniel. Will NDI integrate into the AVB network setups?
Again, unfortunately, AVB is a little bit foreign to me, so I don't want to speak out of turn and I don't want to give you any misinformation. Chris, log that. We will follow up.
Okay. And on to the next question. This one's going to be a little bit of a flex on some security stuff, so get ready. Paul asks, any plans to get products into the DoD, Department of Defense Information Network approved product list?
Well, that is actually, I think that actually is one of the questions that we were going to touch on. So in short, we are always looking at certifications like that. I'm going to jump ahead in our conversation and bring it up. At the end of last year, in the beginning of this year, we were handed down the NDAA requirements, which effectively require DoD, DOJ, and NASA facilities to have NDI compliant hardware in their facilities. That is something that we've looked into and we're actually going to solve for towards the end of the year. So yeah, DoD, DOJ contracts we know are out there. As every single organization in the world found out in 2020, a virtual and or hybrid model is necessary, and that includes the governments around the world and specifically here stateside. So yeah, we're looking at that.
Okay, sounds great. Next question comes in from Tim Duncan. All right. Not from the San Antonio Spurs Hall of Fame, but close.
No, when you said Tim Duncan before, I was like, man, can we hire him?
We you have no idea how far the Starin reach goes. We have a lot of big name fans. So Tim Duncan asks, since you mentioned that PTZ Optics is a small family-owned company, where are the cameras manufactured? Made in the US or overseas? And are you being impacted by the chip shortage?
Ooh, another point we were going to touch on as well. Tim, you're asking great questions, my man. I appreciate it. As is the case with 99% of electronics in the world, we are manufactured overseas predominantly. We do have a few products that we do manufacture here in the States in our accessories line, but pretty much you could just think of everything as being manufactured overseas, pretty much like everyone else. And then, chip shortage, you did want to touch on that. Mm-hmm. So as a result of us looking into the NDAA stuff and kind of augmenting our supply chain a little bit, we currently are not seeing any effect to our supply chain as we've designed it in the near future. I know that that's a big hot topic in the world of electronics right now. Chip shortages are a thing. Supply chains have been completely reworked, and it only took 300 days to one ship getting locked up in a canal. We are not going to see any effects in the immediate. We're not hearing anything from our forecasts into the future. So as of right now, it is all things go on that front for PTZ Optics and HuddleCam.
Now, if you can only solve why chicken wings are disappearing, ketchup packets have disappeared, then that would be the be all end all of things. Please, some things are very important to the folks.
Yeah, the pandemic forces us to pay $1 for ketchup packets like they do in Europe. That's it. I'm right in the farm, mate. I'm done.
Awesome. All right. Next question comes in from Roland. Roland is asking, can you point a couple of hardware video switchers that ingest NDI? Looking to use it in a house of worship, live streaming. Thank you. That's the question.
Roland is a great video switcher, Roland, that They do. Roland is making some headway into the NDI space. I'm not 100% sure where they're at. We've talked to them about it, but you can go straight to the horse's mouth in this case with the NDI products that do have the ability to be, or sorry, new tech products, I apologize, that do have the ability to ingest that NDI video feed on the switcher front. They make a great line of switcher products. I'm a huge fan of the TriCaster and the TriCaster Mini. So definitely look into new tech. And there's, I believe Blackmagic got a couple as well. So they're out there. But yeah, I would just go with new tech. New tech is NDI. NDI is new tech. Might as well just get it from the source.
You could also, Roland, my advice would also be to contact your Starin rep. I think they may be able to assist as well through some of the accessories that we carry that may be connected to the PTZ optics. And we have different brands. So please feel free to reach out. I'm sure our sales engineers will be more than happy to assist. All right, next question. Comes in from Mike. Mike asks, any plans to integrate camera preset positions on the control panel surfaces inside Zoom?
Ooh, that is a great question. Unfortunately, I think that's going to be a Zoom question. Mike, my producer, is looking at me with the same look of thoughts going, I think I see the smoke pouring out of his ears, as well as mine. No, so for things like Zoom, when you talk about like in Zoom control, when you talk about like in Skype, come actually from Zoom and from Skype. It's just whether or not they're going to adapt the control technology in NDI. And as the video and as Paul, explained in there, NDI 4 and NDI 5 are going to open up the world for NDI control a lot more. So hopefully we will see those adaptations. I don't see why they wouldn't. Again, they're taking on all of these new bits of software in terms of different video delivery systems. So I think it would only make sense for them to eventually progress in that direction.
Okay, sounds good. Let me move on to the next question. Comes in from Warren. Warren, any plans for the camera with a larger sensor? I'm looking for a little bit better image quality than the current PTZ G2 level, particularly in medium light situations. So are you going to bump up the sensor or what? It's basically what he's trying to say.
Again, I don't know if you passed out the questions we talked about beforehand, but it seems like everyone's hitting the points here. So yeah, in short, yes, we are on track to solve for 4K. We in the past just hadn't broached 4K subject because just really internet speeds, being able to live stream 4K isn't yet a thing, and that's just because we haven't launched the 5G network, and we haven't done all these infrastructure pieces that can handle that type of video workflow. At the end of the day, even if you have a 4K camera, if you're live streaming to YouTube, your end users are only going to see it in 1080p at best. And obviously, the phone is a really big tool as well these days for live streaming. So 4K didn't really make sense. With that said, as we've talked about today, we're getting into so many different verticals. People are using our cameras for so many different applications. Instead of live streaming that 4K, yes, we are working on a 4K solution. You can keep your eyes out for that. It's coming fairly soon.
That is what we like to call a hint or a teaser, or I think that's what we call it, right? Next question. Next question comes in from Brian. Brian asks if, is NDI routable between networks? Any firewall port considerations? Also, can it be moved over wireless?
Ooh, yes to kind of everything there. Again, because it's network device interface, it lives on your network wherever you build that. I think in order to go from network to network, you could potentially VPN into that network from outside in, and then you could pull the video that way potentially. Those are kind of some complex IT questions that, I imagine that there is a solution out there for everything, which is why I want to just say yes, because it would make sense with a video feed living on a network somewhere. As long as you have access to that network, you theoretically accomplish everything that you're talking about. Yes. Do we necessarily have workflows and built-in pieces in our hardware for those questions? Nope, because that's, again, more on the IT side of the world. So kind of a loose yes. I believe there's a solution for all of that.
Okay.
Sharing and things over Wi-Fi or cell, and then having network NDI connection.
Okay. I got a question regarding upgrades. What's the cost to upgrade a 20x PTZ SDI camera to NDI?
Currently, that is set at $599. It's a licensing fee that we pay to NDI in order to upload that firmware to a non-native NDI camera. So it is effectively it's a $600 upgrade to get that firmware loaded onto your SDI model camera.
Okay, and to go back to the question that was asked earlier around the presets, other competitors, according to Mike, other competitors allow the presets, creation of user presets in their devices in Zoom. Would love to see that with PTZ. Obviously, Mike likes PTZ and wants to see it the same and use it with the presets like the others do. So that's just a quick comment that came in through the side here. So the next question comes in from Josh. Josh, I'm doing, well, let me stop and read this question. Josh is doing mostly House of Worship live streaming with hardware video switcher streamers like Blackmagic ATEM and other HDMI inputs for cameras. NDI is really interesting, but it seems like SDI cabling converted to HDMI at the end would be my best bet. I also need Cat5 for PoE, but even with running two cables, it seems to be more cost effective than NDI. If NDI would be less, would even be possible in this situation, does that solution sound right? Did I read that correctly to you, William? Did you get all that?
I got it, and I think and we get asked this question all the time, right?
Yeah.
So effectively, I believe the question is centering around why NDI when SDI HDMI is pre-existing and potentially pre-existing in a setup, or that's just kind of a tried and true. Here's the thing: SDI is SDI. SDI is coax cable. It's been around for as long as coax cable has been around, which is longer than I've been around. It is trustworthy. It is, you just have that video connection. You know it's stable. You know that nothing's going to collapse on you. When we're talking about NDI, kind of one of the things that I remember when I saw Dr. Andrew Frost talking about NDI at NAB 2 or 3 years ago now, was talking about virtualizing of your hardware. One of the things that he did mention is if you can kind of imagine an old TV truck out back behind a stadium, the idea of NDI was to just put that all on your network, just to virtualize all of those pieces of that puzzle. Which is why when you're talking about video switchers, they're predominantly SDI or HDMI based. NDI is a network device delivery system. So your video switcher, in theory, would be like a Linksys or Ubiquiti network switch. It wouldn't even be a traditional video switcher. Although there are ways to get NDI video onto the traditional video switchers, because that is a workflow that people very much enjoy and use, and we understand that. It is kind of, it's dependent on what the end user really wants, and who's going to be operating it and what their preference is. NDI is, if you could think about it, and we actually brand it in our products. We have USB, SDI, and NDI line cameras because they are just separate workflows. And so you just have to pick whichever workflow works best in your situation. Now, if you're predominantly doing church installs or house of worship installs, you always have to think about who's using it. Is it a volunteer or is it a pro AV person that has experience? If they have experience, what is their preference? If they don't have experience, what's going to be the easiest for that person to use? And we talk about that all the time in sales engineering, just really discovering what's going to be best for your end user, what's going to be best for the client and their end goal. So that was a no answer, long answer.
That was, wow. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Bryant is asking, can you use them with OBS using an NDI driver?
I believe, yeah, you can use all.
We lost your audio there, William.
Did you?
Yep.
Nope.
There, now you're back. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Could have just been a little thing on the box. Anyway, not a problem. So yeah, all of our cameras are what we call soft codec. So anything that's NDI, as long as you have the NDI drivers on your OBS production, you can use every single camera we manufacture that has the NDI capability on it. The cool part one of the really cool parts about our cameras is we are universally compatible. Send what's called soft codec video. So anything that can perceive a video capture device, you can use our cameras for. When you go NDI, you just need to make sure that all your software and all your hardware has that NDI capability on it. So yeah, universally compatible.
Sounds great. Next question comes in from Michael. Are your cameras TAA compliant for government applications? I guess this goes back to the DOJ kind of question. Where are we at with TAA compliance?
We are not currently and officially TAA compliant. However, I will say that we have done multiple installs on multiple Air Force and Navy bases. So I'm just going to throw that out into the world in terms of the TAA question. If we have to sign something saying that we're TAA compliant, unfortunately, we cannot do that at this time. But there are ways to get around that requirement if you need to use our cameras in government facilities.
Okay, sounds good. Next question is from Jonathan. Oh, wait, no, I answered that one. Answered live.
Wait, thanks for all the questions. This is great.
I mean, they're pouring in right now, and I'm completely lost as far as where's the questions versus the chat, because they're coming in from both. If you are posting a question, please use the Q&A section for me to get it, because I'm back and forth between trying to get them out of the chat and stuff like that. So let me go ahead. That's not a question. Okay, so I have one from an anonymous person. Any support coming for far side control with MS Teams?
Ooh, that again, unfortunately going to be an MS Teams question. I know that with Zoom, you can do far end control by allowing somebody to control camera, control and USB, things like. Again, it's one of those things where I got to imagine that they're going to go that route. Are our cameras capable of doing it? Absolutely. We have the Visca control package driver on our camera. Whatever software you're using, as long as it can tap that camera control set, you can control our camera from anywhere, however. So it's just a matter of whether or not Microsoft Teams is going to go that route. Again, I don't see why not. So I would expect that to happen at some point. Yeah.
Okay. Brad has made a comment, or I don't know if it's a question. Is it wise to put NDI over wireless?
Depends on how strong your wireless is. This is, again, when you're talking about network infrastructure, just so long as you can support that 3G video feed. If you've got powerful enough equipment that Wi-Fi connection shouldn't be a problem. We even have a product called the wireless cable, which is effectively a Wi-Fi extender in and of its core that allows you to wirelessly send NDI video from point to point. So we actually have a product that does that. So short answer, absolutely. Long answer, absolutely, just so long as you have a network to support that.
Kelly has a question. When focus lock is on for setting presets, does it not seem that there's an ability to zoom in and out without affecting the focus? Camera operators ask me about this, as the ability to slowly zoom out and maintain focus is a nice element for live production using autofocus. I'm not sure if that's a question, if that was a comment. What is your take?
I'm gonna file that under comment question, and I hear what you're saying. So I actually have a background in film production. I was a first AC on film shoots for years and years and years, and I understand that want for focus lock versus autofocus in certain production environments. Kind of in short, just in terms of like the functionalities that we're able to offer in our cameras, autofocus for 99% of use cases is going to be just fine. Focus lock for movement, for when you be able to zoom in, zoom out, obviously is a great feature and function if you can have it. In terms of like whether or not we're going to walk that route, we're always taking commentary like that to determine whether or not it's a function that we want to have on our cameras to make it work. So yeah,
I got a part two. I got a part two for you. So in Kelly's part two of the question is, I read all the time that these cameras can remain on 24/7. However, I get asked about the ability to put the cameras into standby mode. While this can be done on a remote, is there any more elegant option to do this easily using the new SuperJoy or through a simple script that can be run on a computer?
Short answer, not really. Again, my producer's making the same face I am. Nah, there really isn't an elegant way to do that. I think the way that you've described it is kind of the best use case. But again, these cameras can be run 24/7, 365. So, powering on, powering off, setting the standby mode might just be easier to walk away from. Turn the lights off, and then the camera can't see anything.
Question came in from John. Any new models due to come out with the enhanced image chip, such as the 1 to 2.5 CMOS?
Yeah, using a CMOS sensor as opposed to the chipset we currently use. So we use a 1/2.7-inch image sensor. I don't believe that we're going to move to the CMOS sensor, which is a Sony product. We just haven't brought it up in conversation, and I believe that there's some price point problem there as well. So not as of yet, but again, we've heard it from a lot of people. So again, it's always in discussion. We're always considering it.
Okay, another question came in from Tim. Are all the outputs on the camera active all at the same time?
Yep. Great part about our cameras. So there we go. Got it. So yeah, NDI, HDMI, and SDI will all be active simultaneously on our cameras. This USB 2.0 port is actually just a firmware upgrade, so ignore that guy. This is the NDI HX model camera. On the USB model camera, obviously just USB and HDMI. But if you do have the NDI on that as well, USB, NDI, HDMI. But yeah, simultaneous all the time.
Okay, sounds good. Since you are a fashionista, the next question has a lot to do with the aesthetics of it. Any plans, and this is coming from Mike, any plans to offer cameras in different colors to better match the walls and backdrops that are used in live environments?
Different colors. I think at the current discussion, with the advent of our product line towards the end of the year, moving to that 4K model, I think we are going to stick with the gray and white option. We have tossed it around to start to do different colors. The problem there is in a production or manufacturing world, it's just whether or not there's enough demand for it for us to make that change. Right now, the white and the gray seem to work because obviously you can use dark or light walled spaces depending on white and gray. But yeah, we've actually talked about doing like a tan or a green for that exact process. Is any of that official? Nope, not yet. But again, always considering it.
Don't talk to me unless you got hot rod red coming out. That's all. That's all I want.
Ferrari red PTZ optics camera would be awesome.
Absolutely. You put one of those up at your next trade show and people will go nuts. I know a company that actually took a projector and had it skinned and painted and then showed it. And then every single call that they got about that projector was not about the projector itself, but where do we get the hot rod red one that they had? And it was an interesting take. You never know what people want out there. Next question.
Tomorrow morning is going to be Ferrari. Enzo Ferrari. What I was trying
Awesome. All right. Next question comes in from Eric. Is HuddleCam NDI camera firmware? Is HuddleCam NDI camera firmware to support Discovery Server coming in like the newer PTZ Optics firmware?
Yes. But we're working on the HuddleCam drivers right now for some of our cameras. Short answer, yes. It's being worked
on. Awesome. Okay. Next question comes in from Randy. This may be it may be an OBS question, but okay. we have a house of worship using OBS and 3 NDI cameras that will not move until that scene is in presentation windows. Is there a way for the camera to move to a preset when the scene is chosen in preview window?
Mike? Our producer's thinking.
He's thinking. He can think. It's allowed. Want me to repeat the question while Mike's thinking?
So they need to show a static shot.
Yep.
Which is live.
Yep. They have OBS. They have 3 cameras, and none of it will move until the scene is in the presentation windows. Is there a way for the camera to move to a preset when the scene is chosen for the preview window?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like setting up a scene with a preset built into it.
Yeah, yes.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, if you set up presets through OBS and you set your scene to have that preset, when you select that scene and push it live, it will move the camera, right? Got it.
We're not, listen, I'm not going to say that we're live, but we are definitely live for anybody who's questioning whether we're live or not.
Put on a static shot, and so then when you change the camera, they're not seeing the camera move, if that makes sense.
Say that again, Mike. I'm sorry.
So you want to set up a static shot so that when you transition between scenes, you're not seeing the camera movement. So move your camera to your preset, then move that to the live presentation. And I think the question was whether or not they could just select a scene and have that camera move to a set position, in which case you would just have to set that preset within OBS, is my understanding. Perfect.
I hope that answers the question, Randy. And Mike, it was Mike's opportunity to move the Pellegrino bottle out of the way and bring a Coke bottle in and create a Cristiano Ronaldo little incident. But no, he did not choose to take this opportunity. I am so sad.
Gotta get a Pellegrino sponsorship.
There it is. There it is. So one more question coming in, and that's from Kelly. Kelly asks, any discussion to incorporate image stabilization? This would be helpful for the non-optimal camera mounting locations. Is there ever an optimal camera opting location, Kelly, is the question. But she brings up a good point. Image stabilization and the cameras. Is this something that we're looking at?
So kind of in short, yeah, we're actually working on a pretty cool project right now. Again, call that a hint, foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
We are working on a project that requires an immense amount of camera stabilization. So we are looking into it. I think the thing is with 4K. So if you think about a 4K image sensor, it's 4,000 vertical bars of resolution. You're outputting at 1080. That's only 1,000 vertical bars of resolution, or roughly about 1/4 of that image. So in theory, you could have a digitally stabilized 1080p output from a 4K image sensor. So if we're talking about potentially having 4K image sensors into our cameras moving forward, but live streaming only supports 1080p, then there is definitely a digital solution out there. In short, yes.
Awesome. We got a comment in the chat that every webinar should be run with you or me running into a producer and leaning into them to share audio, which somebody appreciated. Absolutely. The fact that it was super live and very raw. So thank you, Gabe.
By the way, comment. We are both fully vaccinated. So we do not have masks, but we have both. We have our proof of vaccination record file here at Have.
Thank you very much for anybody who was about to comment on that. So that seems like all the questions that we have. I have a question, if that's okay, since I carry your products and there's inquiring minds want to know. One of the questions that I jotted down prior to, because none of this is rehearsed, so I just come up with some questions that I'd like to ask. First, what is on the horizons for PTZ Optics and for HuddleCam? What's coming? I know you don't want to give away give away all your secrets, but October is coming, coming soon. And what can you kind of hint of what's coming?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about it a little bit. 4K, definitely going to be on the horizon here at the PTZ Optics camera line. I would say, I hope my product team doesn't murder me over this. I would say by around Q1 2022, you're going to see effectively a whole line of new products within PTZ Optics, and they're going to be very exciting. And they include things like 4K, and they include augmentations to allow for things like NDAA compliance. And on the HuddleCam side of the world, we didn't even touch on the idea about Simple Track on the HuddleView, which is our auto tracking and auto framing systems. We're starting to move those into the same world of NDI moving forward, and then we're coming out with even more potentially kind of fun auto tracking stuff. And we just switched over to a shot. This is actually just is recently released. This is our PT Super Joy G1, and then we also just released this week our PT Joy G4.
Nice.
Dun, 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 dun. So those are some things that we have currently going on, and then kind of an idea forward. Again, I think the thing that I am always and forever so excited about working at this company is that every single time we start to discover new verticals, new ideas, we get into situations like this and talk to our end users, that leads to product development. So throughout the rest of this year, you're going to start to see some stuff coming out that we didn't even consider when we launched the company. And I think that's going to be the coolest part about the horizon for PTZ Optics throughout the rest of 2021 into 2020.
Now, 2 more questions, then we're going to jump into what everybody's here for, which is what they won, or the big prize, right? Anyway, the next question is from Mike. Does any of your cameras have AI built into them for being able to do auto follow? I know that answer because I have the HuddleCam HD at here, and it does do the auto framing.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if that's what he's talking about, or are you guys going deeper down the rabbit hole of AI with your cameras?
So within the camera, no. The Simple Track and the HuddleView and the HuddleCam Pro and Pro IP, Pro IP, they do either auto framing or auto tracking. The auto tracking camera uses predominantly, actually, we'll switch to a shot of it. The auto tracking camera, which is tracking me now, this is the Simple Track or HuddleCam ST2, uses motion tracking. So it looks for the thing moving the most in the space and then tries to find a face, and it uses AI to do that. So as you move about a space, it's now seeing something moving, but it wants to see my face. So if you could imagine being in an educational space or being just in a product preview space for corporate communications, this is a great camera for that, and it does use AI technology.
Sounds great.
So in short, yes.
Okay. 2 comments. One, wood is the new black. Is there any wood finish products coming? Because wood is the new black. This is both coming from Paul.
So I know that a lot of the people at Starin, myself included, big music freaks. I almost called us nerds. I don't know if that's, don't cancel me. Big music nerds. I owned a PRS, Paul Reed Smith 2410 top as a kid. And if I could make a wood finished PTZ camera in
You would emulate that?
the way that I would emulate the 2410 top PRS wood finish. Or is that going to become a production model?
Probably not.
Probably not.
See, I took you for a shiplap kind of guy. And meanwhile, you're dropping PRS references on us. So, okay, let's move to the next question. Jonathan asks, can you talk about SDIA versus SDIB?
Mike, can you talk SDIA versus SDIB? If it is product specific to this guy, so this is our PTZ Optics ePTZ box cam. It does have a dual SDI output. One is for the full 4K image sensor. The other is for the ePTZ output. Potentially, I wonder if that's what you're asking about, in which case SDIA would be the 4K, SDIB would be the ePTZ output. I wonder if I can, that guy?
There you go.
SDI1 and SDI2. I believe that is essentially what you could be talking about.
I hope that answers the question. You got thumbs up approval from Paul on your Paul Reed Smith reference. So I just want to point that out there. Next question is from Yuxel. What would you suggest for situations where the Ndi camera has to move or follow the action during a live shot? What is your recommendation for situations where the Ndi camera has to follow or move the action during the live shot? I'll just repeat that again.
Got it. Currently, our Ndi line for PTZ Optics doesn't have any auto. So if you're asking about auto tracking, there is not an auto tracking solution within the PTZ Optics camera line. As well, the Simple Track 2, we're working on the drivers to get Ndi released on that guy. So as of right now, I recommend that you purchase a PTZ Optics PT Joy G4 or a PT Super Joy G1 for all of your action shot needs. The reason being mostly too there, if you're tracking action in like a sports facility, auto tracking isn't really going to be the solution. You really do need a camera operator to follow that, just because it's so sporadic. There's so much moving on in the space. Really, the auto tracking systems that we're talking about when we talk about auto tracking are going to be best suited for classroom applications or boardroom applications, things of the like. When you start to move to sports live action events, things of the like, get yourself a controller. That's just really going to be the best production value.
And in comment, in reference to the SDI-A versus SDI-B, Jonathan was referring to protocol definitions, not so much the inputs on the camera. So maybe that's something that we can follow up on.
Yeah, we'll follow up on that.
Okay. Follow up to Mike's question. He was asking about the auto tracking before. It's to follow a professor moving in front of a camera. So that's where he was looking for the AI applications in a teacher moving front and back. And I guess your auto framing and your auto framing and auto tracking would do that now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And in that case, when you're talking about tracking a professor at the back of a room, auto tracking, you're going to want that Simple Track 2 product. Our auto framing product is more for like a boardroom where you have people coming in and out of the room, and that will frame for the number of.
Okay.
So if you're thinking professor, Simple Track 2, you're thinking corporate boardroom, Huddle.
Okay, last question, and this is coming in from Kevin because we're wrapping up at the top of the hour here. Kevin asks, does the AI require internet cloud or does it run all locally on the device?
It runs all locally on the device, but what you will do is there is a setup tool that you will need to run from the machine that you're running. So if you have a machine running Zoom or OBS, you'll set up your blocking and tracking windows within that software. Once you set up your tracking using the Huddle View or Simple Track software, it is set and forget. It is then managed on the actual camera itself.
So I was sent the message, do you even know what PRS is? And that's Paul Reed Smith. I do know that without having to Google. Thank you, people that are trolling me and thinking that I don't know.
Are you a
what
single cut or are you a double cut? There's a big internet argument out there right now.
Big difference, big difference. So let's get to the finale here. Producer Mark is going to bring up our slide. Let's first start off by letting everybody know what everybody gets for coming to today's big show. William, would you like to announce what everybody has won who is here?
I thought I grabbed one before I got on air, but I didn't. I apologize. So for everyone that is registered and has come to the town hall, first and foremost, thank you guys so much. Our engagement with you is really what helps to drive our product discussions and what we design and what we develop. We can help you in the spaces that you are working in. So thank you very much for coming. As a sign of gratitude for everyone here that is registered and participating in this town hall, you will be going home with a PT Webcam 80, our most recent update to the webcam line from PTZ Optics. So we'll get your information through the guys at Starin. There is a webcam on the way to you. Congratulations.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody. But that's not it, because we can't just give away webcams. The last and the final one, I am going to be announcing who is going to win the big grand prize. The big grand prize is the new PTZ Optics joystick. And the winner of that is, according to the randomator device that producer Mark has spun, it's telling me that the winner is Kelly Combs. Kelly, you have won a PTZ Optics joystick. Congratulations. You are the big grand prize winner. And if Kelly's there, just there we go. Sweet. I see that coming across the questions. Thank you so much, everybody. We are now, William, give us the finale, your wrap up, your final words on everything that's good at PTZ Optics. Where can we find out more information? Where can we find out more about you? And tell us a little bit, and we're going to close this out.
Absolutely. Thank you first and foremost again for everyone for coming. Chris, thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. This is the first one I've done, so I've had enough fun that I'm coming back. This was wonderful. So really, really enjoyed it. Again, great, everyone. Thank you for the participation. If you want to find out more information, by all means, please feel free to email my team. That is partners@ptzoptics.com or partners@HuddleCamHD.com. That goes to me and my team. Somebody will definitely get back to you. We love talking to our customers. We love kind of working with you to find out client solutions. If you have any other questions and inquiries, you can always reach out to Starin as well. They're one of our favorite distributors in the industry. We work so closely with them to do events like this, come up with other product offerings and bundles and things of the like. So you can always reach out to the guys at Starin and girls at Starin. They are amazing. They know a lot about our products. And if there's something that they may not be able to help you out with, we definitely can. If I can't help it, we could definitely go to our product team, our support team. And we're definitely available anytime for you guys. Reach out to us.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Have a good day, and thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.